And we're back. Before we start discussing the code part and the code architecture, we're going to take a look at project management and what I call the social architecture of the project. So, unfortunately, um, developing a complex system is just inherently a social process. Um, you've got to sort of interact with a lot of people to get stuff done, and that is definitely true of the Galaxy project also. So we'll talk a little bit about that in these slides. Um, there's a contributing get quick start guide that's here. Um, you can find that in Galaxy Project Galaxy, but hopefully these slides are sort of substituting that document and sort of filling out some of the important information that you'd find there. Still read it; it's worth noting. Pull requests are sort of the unit of contribution for Galaxy. Nearly all changes come in through GitHub pull requests. That's not just sort of community contributions, but also, sort of core developer contributions also come through pull requests. We make a couple exceptions, a few exceptions. These include security patches where we don't want the public to see them before we release them because they're sensitive. There's various like packaging and release process artifacts that don't land up as pull requests, and we just sort of commit right to the code base. And then when we backport fixes from like a dev or a newer release branch to older release branches, we frequently skip the pull request process. But these are the only exceptions we make for that rule. While we're talking about security, we should mention the security policy. The security policy can very briefly summarized as, if you find an issue, please send it to us directly. But we do have the full policy here, put together by Helena. So the idea is we've got this email. Let us know. We've got a private issue tracker for security issues. We'll acknowledge your email within 2 days. We will sort of actively try to patch Galaxy as quickly as possible. Yeah, we support releases for the past 12 months for security issues. If there's older than that, we're not likely to support it. So it's not that we never patch stuff back there, but we just, this is what we like try our best to support. We've got no current plans for release support past 12 months. Things may change. The document goes into some different like high and medium or low security options. And the high security, high severity issues are the ones that we try to patch for the last 12 months. And we have making some more guarantees about. These include like remote code execution, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and user impersonation issues. Lower issues that we still take seriously, but probably won't take quite as seriously and won't patch as far back, are like issues due to sort of uncommon configuration options or unvalidated redirects and forwards. And obviously there's many more kinds of security issues than just this list. These are just examples. So please, let us know in as great a detail as you can the steps to update or patch Galaxy, or just how to, notice the flaw if you don't have a patch. That's fine too. We still need the update. And then we will, in the release notes, I attribute the report to you. So be sure to include institutional information and stuff if you want us to let everyone know you found the issue. And that's the security policy in brief. Let's talk a little bit about the branches of Galaxy on GitHub. Dev is the one when you go to GitHub Galaxy. Dev is the what you land on, and it's where most of the active development happens. New features must be added here. You have a master branch. It's not really used very frequently. It's not something you should really ever develop against. It references the latest stable branch, and that might change. So it's not really a good deployment target either. If you are updating a version of Galaxy, you probably want to know that you're doing that. And so you probably want to upgrade, I want to be on release 1909 and then upgrade it to 2001 when it's time, etc. So master is more used for tooling. The latest stable branch at the time that I'm recording this is 2005, but this will change over time. Generally, we target bug fix patches to the latest release branch. Frequently, though, we'll target it at older ones if we know this bug is, if this bug arises in 1909, we might target 1909 and 2001, even though now the current release branch is 2005. But we don't really make promises other than for security releases, for security patches. So the security policy and the policy I mentioned around pull requests are policies that are laid out in our governance documents and our project policies documentation. All of this is open and available to the public. It was all done via pull requests. So all repository governance is done via pull request and voting. Galaxy goes beyond open source to open governance. From these documents, here's a quote. The committers group is the group of trusted developers and advocates who manage the core Galaxy codebase. And so these are the people who can vote on pull requests. And they're also the only group of individuals who may commit to the core Galaxy codebase. So these are the people who need to press the merge button on pull requests. Committers may participate in formal votes, including votes to modify team membership, merge pull requests, and modify policies. You can find these documents in doc, source, project, organization. So here are the members of the group. You can sort of see how it's changed over time. If you look at the history of this document, you can see the PRs when people were added or removed. And so here's the definition of the committers, the groups, the process around release branches and handling pull requests and voting. It's all out in the open. Any contributor or any committer can veto any pull request. So it's a lot of power. And we're sort of cautious about who we add, but we do add people. Yeah, and it's all done in public. Everyone, including the committers, is subject to a code of conduct. It describes expectations, encourages diversity, and describes how to report issues, such as unacceptable behavior. It's in the codeofconduct.md in the root directory of Galaxy. It's based on the to-do group's code of conduct, the open code of conduct. Highlighting the big points here: be friendly and patient, be welcoming, be considerate, be respectful, be careful in the words that you choose, and then try to understand when people disagree. In my experience, everyone working on the Galaxy project is working towards the benefit of open science and sort of believes in transparency, believes in reproducible analysis. There's a lot of disagreements. We disagree all the time, but these are smart people, and so it's worth trying to take the time to understand why they're disagreeing and listen to both sides. Yes. The code of conduct has information about how to report the unacceptable behavior. In particular, currently it's email Dave Clements. We have a release process. We do new releases roughly every 4 months. The releases are named after the month we aim to get the release out. And the process itself is governed by a sort of auto-created self-documenting release issue. So the release issue for the last release can be here. If you go into issues and search for 2005, you'll find it pretty quickly. The release manager for this last release was Marius. You can sort of go through the process of the release and sort of see what's involved. So we set a freeze date, and then we create this issue, and these come pre-checked off. But then we, around the date, the first of the month, on the month we plan to release, and really we keep pushing this forward and forward because we keep missing the release month. So for this branch, we probably branched sometime in April, but we need to make the branch, and so what does that involve? Well, we check to see if there's any blocking PRs. So if there are any PRs that are targeted at 2005 that aren't bug fix PRs, they need to be merged before it can branched or pushed off to the next release. We make sure the dev is, all the previous releases of Galaxy are merged into dev so that, we're ready to do a clean branch and we've got everything that needs to be included. And then we create and push the release candidate, which will create in this case, it created a 2005 branch, and then, switch the version of dev to 2009. P4 is our code, a little Galaxy, our GitHub bot that monitors issues and pull requests, and so it needs to be told that all new pull requests after the branch have to target 2009 by default, and so it will auto fill in the target release. And then we make the branch protected in GitHub. Review security stuff. Make sure we've got make sure we have everything in order and ready to go in order to actually do the release. Pretty much after we branch, it's time to deploy to test. And then we deploy to the test toolshed as well, ideally. About a week after branching, we try to aim to get Galaxy deployed on usegalaxy.org. So we deploy to usegalaxy.org before the release. We don't always hit this 1 week. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes 3 weeks. And then we deploy to the toolshed as well. And then also during this freeze, we add another target in the BioBlend CI to make sure that we're testing against the latest release of Galaxy. Catch API regressions this way by doing a lot of testing against it. Creating release notes is an important part of the release process. We've got some tooling to scrape all the issues that are included in the release and outlined the release notes. You can sort of help this process along by, if you open a pull request, just make sure that the title reads like a sentence. Then that might be a bullet point in a release note. And so we've got the ability to sort of, this walks through how to bootstrap those and commit them. When it's time to actually do the release, which is usually a month late, we have a process for checking blocking PRs again, checking if any issues are tied to that past release, because we can't release until all the 2005 issues are dealt with or pushed off. And then we do the release. We make sure we're building documentation for the release. And then it's the downstream stuff. We make sure that the tooling repositories are targeting this release. We make sure we do a Docker release in Bjorn's Docker container for the release. And then we make sure the release is announced. We announce it on, we make sure that Galaxy Docs include the new release. We do a hub news item. We do a tweet. And we email highlights of the release to dev and announce. And then prepare for the next release. That's the release process. Organizing issues and pull requests. So if you come back to Galaxy, you will notice that is a lot of pull requests, 154 open ones, and that is even more open issues. And so it's a constant struggle to stay. I mean, we don't stay on top of them, obviously. 1,200 open issues, we're not staying on top of them, but just to keep them organized and triaged and searchable, it's a task. And so we've like specifically scoped out in the project documents, what some issues and how issues and pull requests should be labeled. So GitHub has powerful search filtering and searching based on tags, and so we lay out what the tags should look like. And so let's actually, rather than just read the document, which might be kind of boring, let's go in here and see what they look like today. So the first set of tags correspond to areas of the application that this either issue or pull request corresponds to. And so they got various ones. If you have any question about what they mean, check out the issue document. Dependencies are used by the BuildBot dependencies. We try to tag them with a friendliness level. The one that's really useful and used most often here is help wanted. And so these issues are going to they tend to be issues that someone has thought is a relatively easy issue. It's a good place for a new person to start looking at contributing to Galaxy. And so during GitHub's Hacktoberfest, we renamed this to Hacktoberfest, so anyone in the world can find it if they're looking. Intermediate and unfriendly are used less frequently, but sometimes they're tagged as such. We've got a few different kinds. We've got bugs and features and enhancements. So like a feature is something new, big. This should probably be a release note highlight. An enhancement is more of a contribution or an improvement of an existing feature. And a bug is, as you would imagine, fixing a bug. Then we just have pull requests that are refactorings or code cleanups, that sort of thing. And those are labeled with the kind refactoring tag. These two tags are kind of important. Merge is used to filter. Merge and minor are used to filter items from the release notes. So if they have a merge, if a pull request has a merge or minor, it doesn't wind up in the release notes. Minor just means it's a change to a feature added this release process. So there's no reason to like add another release note item about it. So minor, actually, pull request labeled minor could actually be relatively substantial, but probably we only want to highlight the initial contribution in the release notes. And then merge is stuff like merging release branches forward to development or something like that. Popularity tags aren't used. A good idea though. If you open your PR with this work in progress tag, these are issues. Let's find one right here. Our P4 bot will make sure that this work in progress tag gets added, and it tells us that you're still working on it. Another way to do this is with the draft feature in GitHub, but our tooling hasn't quite caught up to that. But yeah, those are two ways to sort of say, I'm still working on this. Maybe I want some initial feedback, but it's not done yet. Please don't merge. And then triage is, means that no one has gotten to your issue and categorized it with tags yet. And so the BuildBot has put tags onto it. Unless you're part of the Galaxy project organization, you can't add tags yourself, but it's still worth knowing what the tags are because you could request tags or search by them. All these documents I mentioned, the release policies, the issues stuff, the release notes, they can all be found in docs.galaxyproject.org. And you can sort of get to them either project governance, issue management, or the release notes here. This is built with Sphinx. You can find out how to build it in the docs directory of the Galaxy project. I don't have a slide for this yet, but I did kind of want to mention the CI process around Galaxy. This could probably be its own little talk, but each pull request to Galaxy runs a bunch of tests, and we go through where these test files are later in the talk, but I should show them all here. These are GitHub tests that are run on GitHub Actions, or GitHub workflows. And so these are test suites right now. This one indicates these three are Jenkins, so they're run on our infrastructure using the open source project Jenkins, as are the Selenium tests. And then we run another suite of tests, or checks, using Circle CI, which have some important ones. If you go into the Circle CI tests, you'll find linting both the JavaScript and the Python. So if there are code issues, check them out here. JavaScript unit tests and Python unit tests are also in here, and testing the Galaxy package structure. Yes, I wanted to say something else. Oh yes, so frequently seeing all 14 successful checks green is not, I mean, frequently we have tests or pull requests that are great, but 1 or 2 tests have failed due to transient issues. And we're constantly working on it, but you know, the nature of the universe is a chaotic one. And so there's red X's in here. And so it's worth going into the details and sort of figuring out, is this a problem that makes sense for my pull request to have? And so if you think it probably isn't, then don't get too worried if there's a red X in here. Just let us know, and we can help you figure out if it makes sense or not. Definitely check out the red X, see if you can rule it out or confirm that it is an issue with your code, but don't spend too much time being anxious about the red X until we've confirmed that it is an actual issue with your code. And I think that was the last thing I wanted to say around the sort of social structure of the project and the project management. Thanks for your time.